Velma has made waves on social media with how poorly received it's been by basically everyone. I've had to talk about it several times because the backlash has built up to an insane amount, and even though it has abysmal scores on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, it sounds like HBO signed this show for multiple seasons, and they're planning on doing a season 2 of this monstrosity. I have a bunch of different things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So this is a Screen Rant article. It says Velma Season 2 reportedly confirmed at HBO Max despite the backlash. This show didn't even deserve a Season 1, never mind a Season 2. This is one of the worst shows that's going to release this year, and we're only halfway through the first month of 2023. I mean, this show was god-awful, but it sounds like HBO has either greenlit multiple seasons at once, or they are just viewing it as a win. I did talk in my previous video about how Mindy herself came out and said, "Look at us, the show did so good. Thanks for watching, everyone," because it is being called the highest viewed animated HBO original, and that's great. But I talk about in that video how there's only 5 HBO animated originals, and one of those was Santa Inc., which was last year one of the worst shows to release, and everybody absolutely hated it. So HBO Max has definitely created some of the worst animated series, but it says, despite its controversy-mired Season 1 premiere, the Scooby-Doo spin-off series Velma has already been renewed for a Season 2. It doesn't even deserve to be called the Scooby-Doo spinoff because nothing about it is Scooby-Doo. Scooby isn't in it. Velma, Daphne, Fred are all completely, different characters personality-wise. And then you have, Norville, who is supposed to be Shaggy, and that's just a completely different character. It doesn't even deserve to be called Scooby-Doo. It is just a pile of trash. It says Velma is an animated comedy series set before the Scooby-Doo gang's adventures in solving mysteries. I didn't find it very comedic, but maybe it's just my opinion, though everybody else seems to hate it as well. Everyone else is saying it's really not that funny, too. It says the show is focused on, one of the members of the group, Velma, and her high school life. It says, without the iconic talking dog Scooby-Doo in the show, Velma's comedy leans heavily towards adult humor, making it a very different venture from many of the previous Scooby-Doo stories. I have said this a couple of times at this point. I would have loved a Scooby-Doo adult-themed series. It would have been freaking hilarious if it was done properly, but the issue with this series is that it was just a Mindy Kaling self-insert. She thinks that she is funny. She thinks that feminist humor is funny, and that's really all the series is filled with. And they also attack people who like Scooby-Doo and, like animated series, because they even say it's one of the highlights of the trailer that, oh, at least I'm not an adult watching cartoons. I mean, they tried to make this series successful, and absolutely everybody hates it. I mean, there is really nobody who's praising this. The people that they tried to make it appeal to absolutely hate it, and the Scooby-Doo fans who at least wanted to try to give it a chance also hate it. It says, though, according to Entertainment Identifier Registry, or the EIDR, Velma Season 2 is in the works at Warner Brothers and HBO Max. The registry shows Velma Season 2 on its own and a list of 11 episodes, and the news comes just a couple of days after the premiere episodes 1 and 2 on HBO Max released. This didn't even deserve a first season, never mind a second season. Because it's already apparently behind the scenes green lit for a second season, it to me sounds like they initially signed for multiple seasons, that they right off the bat were planning on doing at least 2 seasons, and they probably thought that this was going to be successful, that people were going to like it, and they still might scrap it. I honestly hope that they do. I almost never hope that something gets canceled because other people like it. I hope that this gets canceled. I don't see anyone who enjoys this. The scores are absolutely awful, like the article's going to point out. I don't really see a reason why they would, shove a bunch of money into this. Unless, of course, they had already planned to do multiple seasons. There's no way that they're looking at the reception to the first couple of episodes already and are going, you know what, we're gonna go ahead with the second season because we don't really care that much about how people are responding to it, because usually companies like negative feedback because they view it as all press is good press, even if it's negative. But in this case, even the critics are panning it. There's like no 5 stars being put onto Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, and it has been trending on social media, but it has been negatively. I just don't see a way that this series is going to hold up for them. It says critic reviews for Velma have been split, with positive reviews often commending some of the comedic moments and most negative reviews pointing to issues with the show's actual story. Among audiences, though, reviews have been overwhelmingly negative. Yep, they have been. I mean, the critic scores at a 55%, so yeah, it is pretty split, but the average audience score is at a 7 right now, and if you go on over to IMDb, it is currently sitting at a 1.6 out of 10 with over 12,000 reviews already. I mean, this is almost as bad as Santa Inc., which, of course, though, this article decides to blame all of the negativity on racism. There's been plenty of valid criticism of the show, but much of the negativity surrounding it has been in very bad faith. The toxic review bombing was a response to the show's race-blind casting, specifically with Velma being of Asian descent in the new series. While most Scooby-Doo fans understood and even applauded the decision, it still led to a substantial level of racist backlash to Velma from toxic individuals and groups. Now, do they show any examples of this ist backlash? Of course not. They don't show a single review, a single tweet, or post, none of that. They just say, there's racist backlash. And yes, initially, when this show was announced months ago, a lot of people were upset over the fact that they were changing the descent of these characters because, of course, Daphne and Velma and Shaggy / Norville, even though he's a completely different character, are all different from their original counterparts. That is like the least criticized thing that I've seen at this point. The writing is awful. The voice acting is just okay. The story is god-awful, and the characters and the way that they act now, because they are very different, are also terrible. Those are the things that people are criticizing at this point. I honestly haven't really seen anyone bringing up the race of the characters, because everything else is just so freaking bad. But of course, like I mentioned, they don't actually show any examples of this. They're just trying to say that we're terrible people for criticizing this show that tried to be stunning and brave, and that's that. But as you can see, it seems like Velma is getting a season 2, or at least they're thinking about doing a season 2, which in my opinion sounds like a complete waste of money for them. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.